Was Illinois' season a success? Let's talk about it. Welcome to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on all the socials at Cody_CHGO. And also, I started a new Illinois Twitter account. I told you on the last episode I was going to create my own Illinois Twitter account because I know, Cubs and Cardinal fans, we kind of clash together in the summer. And I guess in the winter/fall, we all kind of come together with Illinois. So obviously a lot of people know me more for Cubs content, but I think I'm a huge Illinois fan. So I decided to finally just start a new Illini Twitter account. I got, last I checked, 4 whole followers, but we're on our way. So the link is in the description. It's at Cody_Illini. Nothing crazy. So if you all want to shoot me a follow, would appreciate it. But now that that's out of the way, I want to introduce the guest for tonight, Connor Pills, who, if you don't know who he is, not only can the kid sing, but he's probably like the biggest Illini TikTok account out there. I mean, I don't know, Connor, but I think that's the best way I can introduce you, my friend.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. That's a pretty good description. I feel like I've always been a weird mix between like a music kid and a jock. People are like, wait, what's this kid's deal? But yeah, I mean, obviously got the music stuff going on social media. And then, kind of in June started posting sports videos just because I was like, I'm a massive sports fan. I always have been. And obviously I'm not really going to post that on my account where I sing. And then kind of just started taking off. And yeah, I mean, I went to Illinois, literally tattooed the logo on my thigh. So very passionate about the orange and blue. You could say that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always have to tell people I didn't actually go to Illinois, but I grew up around Champaign. So orange and blue is kind of automatically kind of embedded in me. If I would have had the grades and the money, I definitely would have gone to Illinois. But I went to Eastern Illinois instead, 45 minutes south. Would like to come up during unofficial sometimes, stuff like that. I had my fair share at U of I as well, even though I didn't go there.
Love it. Yep, unofficial is always a great time. That game we had on unofficial, I wasn't there, but that looked absolutely insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are here tonight. It is Monday, the day after Illinois lost to Kentucky. And I wish I could remove the memory from my head, but that's just impossible unless I start taking a lot of drugs or something, I guess. But unfortunately, we are doing a season recap show a little earlier than I would have hoped. Maybe expectations-wise, it's not necessarily a surprise, but we're this kind of a season recap, kind of go over some things. Transfer portal opened today, so there's a lot of discourse and smoke out there right now. It feels like baseball off season already for me in a way. But yeah, man, I guess we'll just start with your overall thoughts on the season, and if you come away disappointed or content or I don't know, just fine.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot to unpack. And yeah, obviously, like I feel like I'm now starting to deal with it in a healthier way. But I think last night my wife was even like, you kind of just shut down. Like you were kind of just, I feel like obviously when you ride or die with a team, like it's really upsetting when it comes to an end. And obviously, it's like seeing Will Riley cry and like the guys console him, like that stuff hurts, honestly. Like it's obviously like you can say like, oh, it's just sports at the end of the day. But for those of us that, watch every game, talk about it on social media, like kind of build that community, it obviously is a big deal. I'd say when you ask about, how we perform versus expectations and was it a success, was it a failure? I think I fall somewhere in the middle. Obviously, I think if before the season started, you would have said we're getting an all-new team, we're losing 98% of our scoring from our Elite Eight squad, no Terrence, no Coleman, no Damask, getting all new guys, mostly led by freshmen. And we're going to continue our streak of winning 20-plus games. We're going to make the tournament. We're going to win a tournament game. We're going to win a Big Ten tournament game. We're going to have some crazy high moments, go on the road to start the year, beat Oregon by 100. Like, I think a lot of people would have taken that. I think it's the way this team looked in certain games to start the season that made us think maybe Final Four potential here. And obviously got a lot of media hype as well. And I think obviously, there's some things that you got to go through. I know a lot of people tell me I'm delusional and making excuses when I talk on TikTok, but I'm like, you got to take into account the month and a half where we were puking all over each other and we had mono and norovirus and then people got injured. But obviously, even without that, there were some very, very high highs and very low lows. So I think overall, I file somewhere in the middle. Like I said, I'm definitely not pissed at the season, but I also think I will always look back on it as kind of a what if. That's kind of like my 2 words to sum it up.
Yeah, I tweeted that last night myself. I feel like I lean more so in the middle, but I do find myself a little disappointed. And this is largely because it's not only where the in the season is, there were a lot of highs and that got you so high. I tweeted this last night. The highs were so high, you didn't need to smoke weed or drink alcohol ever again. And the lows were so low that you're going to find yourself in the Taco Bell drive-thru, my friend. And I think the disappointing part is Brad has set a standard. We're talking second weekends as a consistent thing. Like, that's what he wants. He even openly said, he thought this team could win a national championship very beginning of the year. So there's that. But then there's the other part of you lost by 43 to Duke just a month ago, and you still had a chance to almost go to the Sweet 16. You had a chance. And I can say all these things about last night's game and how I find myself wondering, certain situations in the game, they do this, that foul call that I saw your video today on Kasparis that didn't get called. Would they have won the game if that comes down to? We still don't know, but it was a big call that wasn't called, and it led to the loss, right? There's certain aspects from the moment after the Duke loss to yesterday that leave me feeling at least a little bit better about the season. But I mean, before the Duke loss, right after the Duke loss, everyone on Illini Twitter or just I think anywhere you consume Illini content, people were comparing this team to the team of 2 years ago, and that team was toxic. That team didn't like each other, I don't think. It was probably, in terms of teams that had expectations, that was probably one of Brad Underwood's worst teams. And I come to this point today, and I feel like this team was not ever really like that in the end. They had a lot of inconsistencies. They had fun moments. They had really bad moments, but I don't think I'm going to think back in 5 years and say that I hated the 2024-2025 Illinois Fighting Illini. 2 years ago, with the Matthew Mayer team, with Terrence, I was so ready for that season to just be over. But we all knew they were going to probably lose to Arkansas in that game. It was like an 8-9 matchup, right?
Yep.
So I just don't feel the same as that. And so to bring it all around, I just kind of feel, like you said, what if, but also, you did pretty well for a program that had 2% of your scoring coming back.
Right.
And, we'll see what this offseason brings. That's basically where I'm at, man.
100%. I agree. And it's funny. Sometimes I get the both ends of the spectrum. I'm a glass half full guy. I'm an optimist by nature. So I got a lot of people that say, "Hey, I love your positivity. One of my favorite follows." And then a lot of people get pissed off.
Yeah.
Just be a human for once. Don't keep it how are you so positive all the time? It's kind of just how I am.
Yeah.
But I just refuse to resort to that just complete negative. Obviously, like you mentioned, a lot on Twitter, a lot of great stuff, but also a lot of toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I completely agree. I look back, honestly, I think I'll look back fondly on this team. I think the culture that got created between, like you said, you bring back 2% of the scoring, and that's Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, who barely even played. And you have the guys, I mean, by the end of the season, we lost this game. They all look like they're a family, like mourning a loss together. Like, I think it's clear from the way the guys talk about each other, the way you see them in practice, the way you see them goofing around in press conferences. I think it's very clear that the culture they created there was definitely not anything like you said, like the 2023 team, which I would agree is kind of like the worst team of the bread, or at least compared to expectations.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's obviously a disconnect there. Like, would I have loved to keep going in this tournament? Would I love to be having this conversation right now, knowing we're still going 100%? Absolutely. But I think kind of level setting expectations and understanding, like, you can't go on a crazy run every year. You can't win a title every year. You can't win a Big Ten championship every year. And again, some people don't like to hear that. But I think, when the scars heal, when the bruises cover up, I think this still will be a good team to look back on. And obviously, like, I think if we had guys like KJ and even who knows about Will Riley, but if they both came back, I mean, imagine what they'd be able to do in year 2. So that's another thing about it, like just the nature of college basketball. It's like those guys come back, you could be looking at a preseason top 5 team, but that's just not the nature of the beast anymore. I'll definitely still be buying. I got a little collection going of Illini NBA jerseys, so I'll definitely buy those guys' jerseys wherever they end up. Yeah. Definitely hurts that they won't be around Champaign anymore, but no, it kind of long-winded way to say I'll definitely look back fondly on this team. I think so, just because of like the character of the guys and the way I felt about watching them. Like, I knew they cared, regardless of what some people said. I never doubted their intentions. That's the way I put it.
Yeah, I think that's another part of another layer to this season too. Is I think everyone would look at this team so different if this was 10 or 15 years ago, with the way college basketball was, and with the idea of Kasparis and Will Riley probably coming back for their sophomore years. But it's just, I was doing TikTok live last night and had a lot of comments coming in, people asking me, do I think that Kasparis and Will Riley are coming back? And I'm like, I can't believe y'all are asking me. Like, this is the most obvious thing ever. Like maybe Will Riley, but if I'm Kasparis Jackashonis, it really doesn't matter what the box scores say at the end of the year. He displayed the pros and cons of his game, but he's still only 18 years old and went from being a top 20 pick in mock drafts all the way up into the top 10, top 5. I don't know why he would come back. There's nothing else for him to prove at Illinois other than legacy stuff, which I'm here for, brother. Yeah, you want to come back for your legacy at Illinois? Sign me up, man. But it's just the state of college basketball now, man. Like, it has its pros, it has its cons, and it is what it is. And as Illini fans, we're not used to these one and done type players. And to be honest, you look back at how the transfer portal and in building last year's roster, I mean, they didn't get Kasparis until June or July. Like, they were going after AJ Storr, and that didn't happen, So the way that it kind of played out, it was actually like just a really good find by Brad. And again, he gave us highs, he gave us lows, and I think he's going to be a really good NBA player once he gets some experience under his belt, and he's put in the right organization and stuff like that. I think Illinois was a great step for him to get to the NBA, just because I think their coaching staff and strength and conditioning and stuff like that have proven to be awesome. And yeah, I have no doubt that he won't be a really, really good, maybe star NBA player one day. Same thing with Will Riley. And Will Riley's transformation from the beginning of the season to now is actually like it should be studied. Like, they should give us a 30-minute to 60-minute documentary on his transformation. I would watch it.
Absolutely. It would be must-see TV. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how things play out with that. But yeah, man, I will at some point at some point I'll be able to get to a point of appreciation for those guys. Not that I don't appreciate them now. It just sucks knowing that you had a team of this caliber and talent wise, but you're not going to get to see him again. And I wish that we could. I really do.
Definitely. I know. Yeah, it's an important point you bring up too, like how differently this team would be judged if it was, even 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago, NIL wasn't even a thing yet. So it's like, and even talking about, like that's the thing too. As Illini fans, we're not used to those one and done type of guys. Like our last couple All-Americans built that way over time. It's like when Io got here, no one knew his name. Like when Kofi got here, no one really expected him to be what he turned into. And even Terrence Shannon Jr., when he came from Texas Tech, we were like, oh, cool, we're getting a good player. But he was nothing in that 2023 year like what he turned into, obviously, like one of the greatest Illini of all time. So I think in that way, too, like it always kind of got to me, and I tried to, stick my neck out for KJ, even though he doesn't need me to. I was fighting that good fight on Twitter all the time, again, as the optimist. But it's like these unfair expectations were placed on him because of the fact that we're used to, like, having juniors or seniors or fifth years take over. Like Coleman didn't reach his full potential till his senior year. Terrence did not till his fifth year. Io till his senior year. Kofi, Trent, all these guys, right? But I think the fact that he came in, he's 18 years old. He's in a new country, not only a new team. He probably misses his family. He struggles with stuff. And he turned the ball over. But he also averaged basically 15, 5, and 5, which is ranks, in the top 10 of freshman Illini seasons all time. Maybe top 5. So I think a lot of unfair expectations were unfortunately placed on him, which, again, part of that comes with the territory when you're being touted as the top 5 NBA pick. I understand, and I'm not here to say you can't criticize, because obviously we as fans care. But I just think, like, when all the dust settles, it's one of those things where people will be like, you know what? Like, we actually were better for having him, which I firmly believe. Like, he won us a lot more games than he lost us, is what I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that his like first 2 months of the year just like got us all dreaming. Like it was so fun to watch and so impressive that we just thought he was going to do that in the entire year. And I mean, honestly, like there was no reason to not think that. I mean, his games that like against, Arkansas and, their entire offense was terrible against Tennessee, but I felt like he was like their main scoring option in that game.
Definitely
the Oregon game.
Game was huge.
The game-winning shot he hit against Washington to avoid getting upset on the road on the West Coast. Like it's up until that point. Maybe that wrist injury turned out to be more than what we all really thought. Who knows? I lean to believe no, but the point I'm getting at here is he was so good in the non-conference that he raised the bar, and that's what happens when you do that. But
right,
I just felt like a lot of the same mistakes happened continuously, and it just became frustrating. And in turn, it led to, he kind of is coming off like a villain right now to Illini fans, and that's unfortunate because I think in 5 years we could be talking about this guy coming out of Illinois and him being if not a star, a really good complementary player in the NBA. If not a star, this guy has all the talent in the world. And I was trying to enjoy what he brought to the team as much as I could, just because I don't feel like he was going to be here. But it's, I think if it would have been reverse, like he struggled to start the year, like December and November and December, and then he ascended like Will Riley did, people would think completely different about him. People would absolutely think completely different about him.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too. Yeah, like they kind of had a little bit of reverse there, and it's funny too because obviously, like on the surface level, it does look like KJ regressed a little bit, and obviously, like in certain ways, like the turnover issue you can point to. But again, I kind of bring that back to like a lot of one and done guys struggle with turnovers. Like it's not uncommon for 18-year-olds that are playing their 1 year in college basketball to turn the ball over. Now, obviously you can't just like write that off. Right. But I think like, again, going back to those unfair expectations, it's like very rarely does a guy come in and earn first team All-American status as a freshman. In fact, almost never. And especially in today's game, like you see the teams that go on runs in March are the teams of all seniors and super seniors and super seniors, even with like the COVID year and all the extra eligibility and stuff. Again, like definitely think it's fair to like point out his shortcomings and stuff, but you make a good point too. Like he just kind of came out with such a pop, and we had never seen a one and done player wearing a Illini uniform in a while. So we were all like, "Oh my God, we're winning the national championship."
It's true, like, though. It's true.
Yeah,
I'm laughing, but it's true. It's
right.
So true.
And I think it's easy to obviously get pumped like that, and I'll never apologize for that too. Like when people come back in 3 months and say like, "Oh, like you were so delusional," it's like, well, I'm getting excited. Like I'm not going to apologize for being a fan, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to take it to a level, but yeah, no, I think it'd be a very different conversation if we were able to have them for a couple more years, but we're probably not. I mean, like you said, maybe Will Riley. I think KJ's for sure gone. He's going to be top 5. But I think, I mean, Will Riley, again, he's probably gone too. He definitely played his way up the rankings as the season went on. And even in that Xavier game, like he went out with a bang. If that was the best game he'll have in an Illini uniform and that kind of stature. But man, if he somehow came back, continued to add some more size, I think he'd be easy first team All-American next year.
Yeah.
No.
I would love to see what Adam Fletcher could do to Will Riley in a summer.
Because he's already transformed so much. You saw the before and after. Like it's
Yeah. So maybe we'll see that with Morez Johnson this summer. That's what I hope. Jason here in the chat, he's like, Cody and Connor, who will stay with the Illini and what needs to happen. Yes, we can transition that to a little bit of the discourse that I've read online this last 24 hours related to the portal. It's crazy. Not even 24 hours, and like there was already a rumor Kerry Booth was going to the portal, which honestly, when it came out, I was like, this is the most unsurprising thing ever. Right. But apparently he's not entering the portal. Like he even tweeted it, I guess. So yeah, I'll start by saying that I personally will be disappointed if Kylan Boswell, or if this core of players, Kylan Boswell, Morez Johnson, Trey White, and Tomislav Ivicic are not back with Illinois next year, because I felt once Brad Underwood put this team together, we could flirt with something this year based off having KJ and Will Riley and that quote unquote ceiling that Illini fans didn't shut up about all season, myself included.
I was going to say,
but the thing that I loved about the guys that he brought in with those guys is that it's not like they were all like seniors or whatever. Like they could be here multiple years. And so, you got the kid from Champaign and Kylan, you got Tommy who turned out to be way better than I truly expected coming into the year. Trey White had his ups and downs. Probably shouldn't have ever been DMP'd, but whatever. Morez Johnson, probably the most impressive as a freshman coming off the bench. For me at least. There's a lot of there's continuity that can be formed with those guys along with guys coming in. And so I personally will be disappointed if all of those guys aren't coming back, because at what point, Brad, do we try and build that continuity? Because it felt like, and this is probably one of the biggest criticisms against Brad Underwood, is that it feels like every year the team is just changing to a new roster. And I will say, not this year, but the year before, Terrence came back and you had him, but there was a lot of change comparably to the year before, right? Like Jaden Epps left, which probably good, right? Sincere Harris went to the redshirted, whatever, all these names. Ty Rogers and Terrence were like the key pieces from the team the season before, if I remember. There's probably another name or two that I'm missing.
Coleman too.
Coleman, yes. How could I forget Coleman? I'm sorry. So you get what I'm saying, though. Like, I think continuity has to be such a big emphasis on this offseason for Illinois. They have to keep these guys, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
and then build, like, you got to replace your quote unquote stars, because as good as I think the core that they have are, I still think they need like that go-to guy, that star. And if they're not a star, they need to bring in a point guard that's going to be able to take care of the ball, a veteran one, I would say, something like that, and go from there. I don't see the offense changing much. I still think they're going to jack up 33s a game and play fast and be one of the more fun teams to watch play college basketball next year. But You need to get some legitimate shooters, and you need to establish continuity. Those are my two things going into next year that I feel like from watching this team they need. And that starts with age, like more experience and just keeping guys together.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, it was, obviously like right when the season ends, you kind of, once you get over the initial sadness, you kind of go into like the shock of like, oh my God, are we going to lose everyone? Like, is everyone going to start dropping?
Yeah.
But I think it was encouraging, like even basically through tiers, like Trey White and Kylan. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's set in stone, but they were both like, yeah, like I want to come back. Like I want to basically like, I want to finish what we started. So obviously nothing's for sure, but I mean, Kylan straight up said for one, like I'm not transferring. He basically said it's either here or the NBA. I don't think he'll be going to the NBA, so I think he'll be back. And I'm for one, like that's like if you had to nominate like a captain to the team, that's my captain right there. Like that dude, the way he turned it on for the last month of the season, I could not say enough good things about. Like whatever Terrence Shannon Jr. told that kid, we need to hear about that. I mean, that man just unlocked something in him that I didn't even know was in there.
Yeah.
He went from, I mean, he was always a great lockdown defender this year. You know, we heard about that, which by the way, him not being on the all Big Ten defensive team, I can't even with that one. And all the teammates expressed that too. But, you know, a lot of disrespect, nothing new. But the way he unlocked his offense, I think he kind of went from like a little bit of a timid offensive player, not really looking 100% comfortable when he was the guy bringing the ball down the court, when he kind of had to be that go-to guy in a couple games when KJ had to sit out. Like he looked a little bit timid, a little bit uncomfortable. But the last couple games of the season, he was the guy where it was like, we need a bucket, go get it. Like he was that guy.
Yeah.
He kind of had that, again, like what Terrence told him. He had that Terrence in him. We're like, we need a bucket, go drive the lane. Like that was him. So I think, yeah, him coming back is massive. Obviously, like not 100%, but yeah, that core. I mean, you look at too, like we talked about that 2023 disappointment and then the 2024 Elite Eight. A lot of those guys did stay, and you kind of build that continuity and keep it going. And especially in today's day and age, that's what wins, and especially in March. So I think, that's absolutely the first step. And yeah, get a couple studs, get some guys that preferably get a guy that shoots 50% from three. So we'll come here and shoot 40%. That'd be great. But I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think we're set up to be in a good spot for next year. It's just about executing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, but I think if I don't want to say if only one were to leave, but I think if any of those core players leave, that and they're not up to standard next year, that's whenever I start to really criticize Brad. Like I'm a Brad defender. I've been a Brad defender, it feels like, for a handful of years now, and it's exhausting because it's like these people, these haters out here are not letting me enjoy the only thing good in my life as a Chicago sports fan, and I'm like the criticism he gets when it comes to building teams and in the offseason is like, it's exhausting. But I would say that if he lets any of these guys go and they're not up to standard next year, I think that's on him. And, this year, I think I wouldn't say he gets a pass. I just think he did as good as he could have, all things considered. When you look at a lot of the injuries and the illness and, it's like the illness on top of Tommy, like with the ankle, and like Tommy did play such a big, crucial part of their offense. And you could tell when he was out there comparatively when he's not out there, right? And so it's like those games that he missed or, was unable to play, that in hindsight, it's like Brad was kind of right about a lot of that stuff. Did I want to hear about it after every game when they lost? No, I did not. But it is what it is. So, yeah, I'm thinking that they need to get this roster. There needs to be more balance of youth and veteran players so continuity can form, and we're not sitting here, banking on freshmen to lead this team. Like it's. I'm glad that they went young, because it used to be like, oh, Brad's just going to go to the transfer portal and get that, and we're not going to be a developmental program. That was kind of like the narrative for a while, which didn't make any sense to me. But
Right.
now it's like, okay, we went and got young guys, but they didn't lead us anywhere. So like, who do we blame? And I don't think there's anyone to blame. It's just like, this is just how basketball works. You need continuity, and I wish we could see it form next year with this same team, but we're just not going to. And I don't want to go down that path again, but it just goes back to just like they need to get more balance on the roster in terms of continuity and youth and veteran players.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think, I mean, it can't be overstated. It is interesting the trade-off, like different philosophies. Like you heard Rick Pitino recently was like, he was on Pardon My Take, and he was like, I'm not high school recruiting. And they were like, even if the best player in the country wanted to come to St. John's, he's like, no, I'm going to the portal. So it's like that delicate mix between, you don't, again, like you said, you don't just want to keep getting seniors and like try to work with that. Like you want to develop like an Io, like a Terrence Shannon, like a Coleman, like those things. That's the best things that have worked out for us is when we developed. But it's obviously a balance. But yeah, going back to what you said, I am also a very big Brad defender. I think when you look at like Illini basketball from 2010 to 2020 and Illini basketball from 2020 to now, I mean, it's night and day. Yeah. Again, 6 straight 20-plus win seasons. 5 should have been 6 straight tournaments due to COVID. 3 Big Ten championships. Should have been 4, but Michigan canceled games in 2020. We won't talk about that.
Don't get me started.
That was my senior year of college, so I was very passionate about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like I would agree that Brad, like, and again, not to say you can't criticize him. I just think it was quite literally impossible to foresee literally a month and a half of very important Big Ten games where like you had to put out a new starting lineup every game. Like he put out 7 starting lineups. At one point we saw Kerry Booth and we were like, wait, what is happening right now? He's like, oh yeah, everyone else is puking. And we're like, oh, okay. That's happening. And then we get blown out by Wisconsin, and then we get blown out by Duke, and everyone's like, again, everyone calls me delusional, and it's like, you're making excuses. It's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to say we would have beat Duke, but I don't think it would have been a 43-point worst loss in program history if we had all our guys healthy and ready to play.
Yeah.
So I just think like, and to that extent, absolutely, like there's some unforeseen circumstances. And yeah, again, he's not perfect, but I personally feel like we're in a better spot with Brad. And I don't want him going anywhere anytime soon.
Were you nervous at all if they would have lost to Xavier and the Texas job was open?
I honestly was not. I don't know if I should have been. But when I saw that, I was like, I mean, I don't know why he would leave what he has here to go there. I mean, even the job security here, like he's been here for a while. I think people that actually like you were saying, like that actually kind of know ball and know what's going on here. And especially people that remember like the dark ages, if you want to call it that. I think like, I don't know. I wasn't worried personally. And then I kind of found out a new guy was in like a day. So I was like, all right, yep, I guess it didn't have to be, but I saw you tweet about it. Were you worried a little bit?
I was worried just because I know Texas has the resources, and now would they have done the buyout or whatever? It would have been like $13.5 million. I don't know, but I part of me is always kind of worried that some team is going to come in and swoop him up a much bigger program. Now, do I think Texas is bigger than Illinois from a basketball standpoint? As of right now, no. But they can get there. I mean, it's not like they have it's not like they're not a big bad school, like obviously football is bigger there, but I do get fearful of that kind of stuff because the PTSD from Bill Self when I was a kid, and that's it. That's all. There was really no other context to it other than PTSD.
No, that's valid. That's valid for sure.
Yeah. So
no, I remember that one. Like obviously I was pretty young. I mean, I was born in 98, so I'll let you do the math there. But but I remember like my dad telling me, like, my dad didn't go to U of I, but my mom did. So I was like raised on Illini too. And I remember like the one that everyone being pissed, but he was like, but then Illinois was in the championship game next year and Bill Self was not. So that was kind of a nice little, we'll be fine without you. Yeah. But I can definitely understand how that was painful. And obviously still not, I don't think the fondest person in Illini circles.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We've talked about Brad. We've kind of talked about the season as a whole. I feel like we can do some best and worst here to kind of end this out. What are I'll let you go first. What's one of your favorite moments from the season?
Man, I want to say, as far as when I think I was like the most on cloud 9, I want to say it was the Oregon game.
Yeah.
I want to say and I think it also has to do with the fact that week may have been, and I'm not even exaggerating, I've been through a lot of pain in my 26 years on earth as a Chicago and Illini fan. That week, basically the first week of 2025, may have been the single greatest sports week of my life, besides when the Cubs won the World Series. Obviously, we won the Citrus Bowl in football versus South Carolina. No one gave us a chance in that game. We're going to kill you. We shouldn't even be in the same class as you. The whole Brett T. Post thing, that was incredible. Going right into the Oregon game where the announcers are talking about, I don't know if Illinois can compete there. I just don't know if they have what it takes. And then going out and winning, but winning in that fashion. I was so used to being stressed on the edge of my seat the whole game that there was 10 minutes left and we were up by 30. And my wife was really like, you can relax now. We're going to win. And I was like, no. I refused to accept it. I was like, we're going to give up a 35-0 run and we're going to lose this game. Yeah. I refused to be happy about it until the basically 5 minutes left. And then the fact that happened, we were like, oh my God, KJ had an incredible game. Everything went nuts. It was on the road, top 10 at that time. And then the Bears beat the Packers. So that's not all Illini, but I think that may have been heightened because of what surrounded it. Yeah. I want to say that was probably my highest high of the year, I'd say.
I do remember the week, and it was a pretty good week for me. I did not care if the Bears beat the Packers just because the season was over, but I do remember cashing my DJ Moore future bet on receiving yards, and he cashed it on his very last catch of the game to set up the game-winning field goal. Wow! And then you have the Oregon game, all of that. That was a good couple days, right? Yeah, and then they beat Washington that same day too. So it's just that week. Yeah, it was a good way to start 2025.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that game for sure was the highest of highs for Illinois fans because it was still early and we hadn't gone through this roller coaster yet.
Yep.
I guess for me, my favorite moment, if I didn't choose Oregon, I guess my favorite moment, and it makes me sound like such a troll, but I'm not gonna lie, watching them pound Indiana and then hearing Mike Woodson fire Mike Woodson chants, it's just
that was a fun one.
Chef's kiss. I think I hate Iowa the most out of any team in the Big Ten. Now I work with Greg Braggs, who does the biggest Purdue podcast in the country as well. Okay. But I have my own feelings about Purdue, but I feel like Iowa has always been a team that I have for sure disdained the most, and that's that. But Indiana fans just they find a way to really get under my skin, and going to IU at that historic arena or stadium, whatever you want to call it, Assembly Hall, and you just start hearing chants of fire Mike Woodson and just blow him out. I think there in between that game there was some definite lows and just concerns, but I always appreciate whenever Illinois goes on the road and beats a rival team. And
100%.
That was a fun night for me. That was a fun
That was a fun one. I remember that one. I was they didn't even give him a chance. We basically went up 10 and I think there was still 10 minutes left in the first half and they're booing him off the court. I was like, wow, this is crazy to be on this end of this. Wow, we're coming in. Yeah. And I remember that game was interesting too. And it kind of gave me some extra oomph because I feel similar to you. I mean, I feel Iowa's been at least in basketball, when I was in college, Iowa was we hated them and they hated us. I mean, when Fran McCaffrey had Connor McCaffrey on his team and all the other, I think there's 8 McCaffreys now.
The entire family tree. Yeah.
He didn't die, but he's not the coach anymore. So rest in peace. But it's funny. Like I hate to say it, and like no offense to Iowa fans, I don't really hold them in contempt anymore because they haven't been relevant enough for me to like have a rivalry. But that Indiana one, I feel like I have never really felt any type of way about them either. But the things they pulled during that game made me like more fired up. So I was like, at first I was kind of like, okay, cool, we're winning. But then like Mbako like came up and like shoved, like remember when he like shoved the guy Tommy over?
Oh yeah.
To get fired up and wait, was that the guy? Am I saying the right guy's name? Whatever the guy they have is came up and shoved him. I remember like just I was like, yeah, like we're getting into it. And then I remember too, like it was interesting with Luke Goody, like he got a little chippy in that. And I love that kid. He actually replied to one of my tweets yesterday.
I was gonna say I saw that. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, always love that kid, always root for that kid. But I remember just being a little bit surprised that like, okay, this is like a little rivalry reignited here. But that was a fun one. That was a fun one for sure.
Yeah. It was a decent season, but I still just, because it's such a what if, I find myself thinking of more of the negatives than I do the positives.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where to start with the worst moments, whether it's fucking KJ getting 4 fouls in 9 minutes at Michigan State or Illinois putting Terrence Shannon Jr.'s jersey upside down and not scoring in the final 8 minutes of that game because of the bad karma that you set up. At least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
The Duke loss. I don't even know which one you would rank as like the worst moments. Like the lows were so low, man. The low. I was at the Michigan State game in Champaign, and I walked out with my buddy that I went to college with, and I was just yelling. I don't think I'd ever left a sporting event so pissed off. Like I wanted to beat Michigan State so bad that night because I felt like they got screwed at Michigan State. And it wasn't just the refs. They had their own part in losing that game at Michigan State. But when you take the team's best player out and with 4 fouls in 9 minutes, there's something. I will forever wonder what Tom Izzo paid the refs going into that game, man. Like it was so messed up. To make yourself part of the game like that. So I don't even know where to start with the worst moments of the season.
That Michigan State one for sure, because I think that almost felt like the beginning of the end. It wasn't really, but like we should have won that game. Plain and simple. And I'm never one to one of my pet peeves is every time a team loses, us versus the refs. And every time you win, we won despite the refs. Like I hate that shit. But that one, and I coming from someone that almost never says that, I'm like, that was just. I mean, KJ played. Yeah, he was able. He scored 3 points in that game. We lost by 2. It's like the guy gives you 10, like he usually does. You win. Like even the BS technical at the end when like Izzo's yelling the whole game, nothing, and then. I think it wasn't even Brad. It was like someone on the bench that got the
it was an assistant coach.
2 points in the ball. They end up scoring and like we lose by 2. So it's like, and that was just tough because it really felt like, we could have had that one. And like to win there too, that would have been incredible. And obviously, when I'm not a guy that believes in karma really, but that did really feel like a bad omen when we hung Terrence's jersey upside down. I was like, this, I don't think this is going to end well. And it of course didn't. And credit to him for being such a good sport. He laughed it off. He made something positive out of it. T-shirts for charity. Yeah, shows you what a great kid he is. Yeah. But I mean that was. I would love to. I would love to pay to be inside Josh Whitman's brain when he saw that sign come down. He's probably thinking, my life is over. Like, he was like, how did this possibly happen? Like that. Oh my God. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that room wherever that got discussed. But I'm just like, man, that's just really bad. I know mistakes happen, but I don't know how that happened. I really don't.
You can't have mistakes on moments like that. Like, because Terrence isn't going to have that moment again. You know, it still pisses me off.
And given everything he went through too, like obviously, oh my God. And I was at the Kofi celebration a week before that. It was all great. Like came down right side up. I was like, wow, that's cool. And then, I actually saw him at Lion afterwards and got a picture with him.
Nice.
I'm 6'2", so I'm kind of used to like a little bit being like a taller guy. And then I take a picture next to him. I look like I'm 5 foot.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But yeah, man, that was tough. But I think the Duke one was really tough because I mean, obviously, worst loss in program history. Obviously, going to be talked about as a low. But I was actually in Colorado on a ski trip with my friends, and I basically made us come back to watch that game. And I was kind of sitting there like, I am so sorry. And I was, and they were like, "Do you still want to? You still want to keep watching?" I'm like, "I'm a sicko. Like, I'm watching this game if we're losing by 180. I'm not gonna not watch. So, like, you guys are free to do whatever you want." But I was like, "Man, this is the first image you're getting of Illini basketball this year. Like, please don't hold that in your head for longer than the next 5 minutes." But that was brutal.
Yeah.
I felt kind of bad about that one, but that's the way I am. Like, I'm not gonna not watch the game. That's kind of how it is. So.
Yeah, I was the same too. Like, I actually watched the entire game, and it got to a point in the second half where I was watching the game, but I was also just like doom scrolling on Twitter. And I don't even know why I put myself through that. Like, I knew it was all negative, and I knew it was all just like, everyone hot takes and overreacting. I mean, I don't know, losing by 43, I guess, isn't exactly overreacting, but it's actually self-inflicting that I put myself through. And why? I don't know. Like, why would I do that? But that's what I did,
Yep.
And it was the disappointing thing about that game is that I had that game circled on the calendar from the moment that I learned they were going to play Duke at Madison Square Garden. I was like,
shape it up to be so good.
Yeah, it was like, this could be we'll be on national television and people are going to be talking about Illinois. And like, I'm just not used to that throughout my life, at least from a national perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I was really excited about it. And then, oh man, I remember going into the Duke game, I was like, we got to win 2 of 3 before, like, going into it. Like, you needed to beat Michigan State and you needed to beat Wisconsin, or at least split it. That way you have a chance. And instead you lost all 3 and it was just a disaster. And that was probably the lowest point of the season. And
that was so tough.
Yeah. I mean, credit to them for winning those 4 straight games to end the year. You beat Purdue at home, which was like getting a monkey off your back. It felt like when they beat Purdue, that was a weight off my chest. And
absolutely,
it's nice to it was a nice little, like, okay, like I at least I can look back on this season and we beat Purdue. And you went to Michigan, beat them on the road. They're in the Sweet 16 right now. I was told when they beat Michigan that they were an overrated team, and they're still alive, so I don't, whatever.
Yeah,
but
no, for real. Yeah, I mean the Michigan win. I was looking it through the Sweet 16. We beat 3 of the teams: Arkansas, Michigan, Purdue, and I mean, we killed Arkansas, we killed Michigan, and we beat Purdue by 8, which is like not killed, but it's also not a close game. Yeah, that was amazing too. That was a great. And yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's just a shame that Duke game had to come at, like, literally. Again, we probably would have lost either way, but it at least could have been a better game. Like, if we were playing, imagine if that game had been like when the Oregon game was. Like, I feel like it could have been a real show, like KJ versus Cooper Flag and like everything. But that just happened. I mean, after we went to Wisconsin and Brad was like, yeah, we're all like throwing up in the locker room. I don't really know what to do. We're not going to shake their hand because we don't want to get them sick with norovirus or whatever we have. I was like, oh, this is not good that we're playing Duke next week.
Yeah.
And obviously that. But yeah, the way to end the season, I think that was incredible. And that at least made it like, if we just like kind of laid down after that Duke game, I think I would have been a lot more pissed right now.
Yeah.
But the fact that we rallied off those wins and capping it with the Purdue game, which I think that was the game on unofficial. That was some of the most hype I've ever heard State Farm Center. So got to maybe get to a game on unofficial. But yeah, no, I think that was that made it at least a little more palatable on the season.
Yeah. I think, like, and I don't think Brad got enough credit for this too. Like, the way they lost to Duke and then to just rebound the way they did. I think it's not even really just Brad. It's just the entire coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for, kind of keeping this team afloat. And I think it also is a testament to the players as well. We're Chicago sports fans. We've witnessed terrible, embarrassing losses and then teams just folding, largely a lot with the Bears, especially in recent years. Right.
Yep.
And so it's like to see them kind of figure it out and, go beat Iowa like you're supposed to, go to Michigan. And, I didn't know what to expect at the Michigan game. I was like, I think they're better than Michigan, but who knows?
Yep.
But to see them not only win, but like blow them out and then beat Purdue at home and then, win a game in the Big Ten tournament.
Right.
It's
Iowa again.
Yeah, Iowa again. And then even beating Xavier is, it's a nice silver lining to the season. I think overall, like I said, I still find myself disappointed, but at the same time, like still appreciative of, at least watching some competitive basketball and looking forward to the future. I don't feel like we're in some form of a, black hole or anything like that. And I just think with a lot of Illini fans, perspective is always key. And some people just don't want to look at it that way. It's either black or white for a lot of them. And I don't know if it's just the time period that we are in, but I feel like a lot of people have that viewpoint with so many things, and it's exhausting. I don't know how people live that way. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Couldn't agree more. I think when you look at it, like obviously disappointing. We want to go to another Elite Eight. We want to maybe win a championship, but how many schools would sign up for in the next 5 years winning the Big Ten a couple times or winning their conference or going on an Elite Eight run like we did or having All-Americans? Like there's a ton of other fan bases out there. I mean, even look us with the Cubs, maybe. How awesome would it be to say in the last couple of years we won a playoff series or like won our division, right? Like hopefully this coming year, feeling good vibes, just disregarding the Tokyo series. But
yes.
But yeah, I think like that's the thing. Perspective is huge. And that's kind of like I think we share that perspective. Like I agree. It just like seems like a depressing way to live, to like always be so pessimistic and what like everything's horrible. And like, again, the glass half empty, but I like to look at the glass half full.
Yeah, no, I agree. For anyone listening who's probably wished that we'd be a little bit more negative, I'm just being honest. Like this is how I view things. And I think if you want me to be a little pessimistic or a little negative about this team moving forward, it's again, how are you going to build this roster to get more continuity? What's my stress level on that? Or what's my, confidence level on that? I feel I'm cautiously optimistic, and I say cautiously optimistic because we've seen guys leave Illinois a lot in this era of basketball with Brad Underwood. And I would like to be, kind of not necessarily proven wrong, but I would like to see this core player stay. And I think that would kind of change a little bit of a narrative that Brad created over the course of time here. And if he does that, I think they're going to be setting themselves up for another fun year next year. So that's kind of like how, if anyone thinks that I don't have any like negative or pessimistic feelings about the team, I want them to take advantage of this roster that they have that shows a lot of good in it and add to it and create a more consistent product. Not 100%. The floor needs to be higher, man. The floor absolutely needs to be higher.
We'll keep that high ceiling. We'll keep that. Yeah, elevate, bring the ground floor up a little bit. And I think we absolutely can with that core and getting a few guys in the portal, which I have no doubts that Brad can do.
Yeah. I think next year I'll just continue to play the bit of the highest ceiling in the Big Ten, just to piss off like
it really pisses off people, specifically Michigan State fans.
Yeah,
I've had multiple people quote tweet me with tweets I tweeted 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, how'd that highest ceiling work out? I'm like, do you understand what ceiling means? Like we didn't reach the ceiling. I still think our ceiling was maybe getting to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. Who knows? Like I don't think they understand what ceiling means, but. Regardless, it is always fun to piss off other fans. So
yeah, I'll close with this question for you related to the tournament. I said going into the Xavier game, I said that if they lost that game, that it would have felt like a missed opportunity, and it would have given me vibes of like losing to Loyola back in 2021. Now they end up winning the game, and you competed to go to a Sweet 16, however you want to look at it. I guess my question is do you feel like at this point, given the great draw they got as a 6 seed, do you feel you said the season feels like a what if, but do you also feel like this is a like a missed opportunity for Illinois to, kind of play with house money and go further.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think, yeah, like this is the first year in quite a while that I actually remember being happy with the draw we got.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because last year I was like, we're gonna have to play a UConn, and I really don't think we're gonna be able to beat them. I don't think anyone can. And as it turned out, I was right. Like everyone lost them. People want to talk about, oh, aren't you the team that lost to UConn by 20? Everyone lost to UConn by 20. They were the back-to-back champs. I think they may have been the best basketball team in the history of college basketball. So immediately with that one, I was like, man, that's a tough draw. This year, I did like the draw because I was like, I do think, playing Texas Xavier, the only thing that made me a little nervous about that is the whole thing about first four destined for more, which that didn't happen this year. But I was a little bit like, whatever team comes out of that, they're coming off a win, they're coming in hot, but I still did feel good about it. I also felt good about Kentucky, and honestly, looking back, like you could always, obviously you could say, well, yeah, if my aunt was my uncle, she'd be, whatever. But like, I do think we really lost that game in the first 10 minutes, like with all the turnovers, the sloppy passes, which they weren't even a good team at forcing turnovers. It was just like we were in our heads. It was lazy passing. It was all that stuff. But we were kind of just trying to do more than we should have. But I still think overall, I do feel like it was a missed opportunity because I think even as a 6 seed, fighting to do that, I think I very clearly saw a path to the Sweet 16. And even, again, a rematch with Tennessee, who knows how that would have went. We probably would have lost, but who knows if they got the Oregon team, and we had a battle last time, who knows how that could have gone. I think it's tough to say overall just because you compare it, you naturally want to compare it to the last year. And obviously, like last year, better team, more experienced team. You had Terrence who was scoring 40 burgers every night on the en route to doing that. But what I kind of said before the game to like set expectations for myself, kind of like you, I was like, okay, if we lose in the round of 64, I will not be happy at all. Like I will completely feel like, what the hell? If we lose the next game, I will still be upset, but I'll at least feel good about the fact that we got to win. We got to win in the tournament. I think that's always better. And then honestly, I said Sweet 16 or more, we're overperforming my expectations, and I'll just enjoy the ride and try not to get too down. Obviously, I would have been crushed whenever we ended up losing. But I think the fact that we got one win, I would have loved to get two is what I'm saying. I think we came up a little bit short of like where I really would have felt good about it, but I'm still glad we got that one win because that just – most teams can't say that they got a win in the tournament.
That's true. But I am glad they didn't lose to Xavier as a 6 seed against an 11. But I'm like, man, I would have loved to go up against Tennessee one more time. They had every chance to beat them in Champaign, and the team was more experienced. And I felt like it had taken steps, even though it was a roller coaster. I felt like the team was at the time playing better than what they were in December. And we unfortunately just didn't get a chance to see it. And I look at the Kentucky game as just like we are young and we're a year away. And that sucks whenever you're not going to get to see that same team again. So it is what it is, but
100%.
All right, man. Well, we're coming up on an hour, so I won't hold you any longer. And I guess let the people out there listening know where they can find you. And if you're doing anything Illini content based or whatever.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me on, Matt. It's been fun. It's always good to kind of put the season to bed in a long form talking way, such as this.
Therapy, yes.
Yeah. No, it's good. I appreciate that. But no, yeah. If you guys out there listening want to see more and hear more from me, I'm on TikTok as at Connor Pills Knows Ball. It's Chi-Town Chandi, so you'll see that if you just look up my name, Connor Pills. And then this is my Twitter handle down here at the Connor Pills. So that's kind of the main places I'm at with Illini. I got other stuff too if you're interested in the music stuff, that's that on Instagram and everything and TikTok. But yeah, I'm out there fighting the good fight. I'll be I'll be talking about the Cubs. I know you do that for your job. I'll be talking about the Bears. I'll be talking about Illini football, and then right back, start the cycle again with basketball.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I appreciate having me on, man.
Awesome, dude. Make sure everyone to go follow Connor. I do enjoy his tweets, and his TikToks are they give me they give me hope that our society isn't completely fucked, because at least as someone who wants to hear a more optimistic view, not everyone is like that, but that is what I like to hear. For instance, I'm sick and tired of people bringing up Cam Smith to me right now when I'm trying to enjoy my 1 year of Kyle Tucker, and it's absolutely annoying. So that's kind of the point. If you're looking for a diehard Illini fan / alum who will give you a glass half full perspective, he's a good follow. So make sure you guys go check him out. All right, I will be back probably later this week. I said it on my show yesterday. I'm going to still continue to do a little bit more Illini content in the offseason. I'm going to be following the transfer portal. Maybe we get some news related to that. But I got a busy week. Opening day is on Thursday, like domestic opening day. And so I got a lot with the full-time gig going on. So we'll see. I will be back at some point this week. But if y'all want Illini content from me on Twitter, it's in the description. Just at Cody_Illini. At Cody_Illini. Go follow me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate y'all's support. The season is over. The good news is, we will all be dead someday anyway. So what does it matter? That if you want a better feeling about if you're still in pain. All right. So I'll be back soon. Appreciate y'all support. Hit the like button on the YouTube video on your way out. And as always, guys, ILL.